Who doesn't love a good murder mystery? I most certainly do, and can't resist when they crop up, especially in games that I'm presently enjoying, even in games that are far from new, evidently, as we return today to Grand Theft Auto 5, again, to expand my lore playlist on the GTA series in long-winded anticipation for you-know-what. And what draws us back to Los Santos and the surrounding areas today is an aforementioned murder mystery. One that supposedly began life as a side mission specifically in the enhanced version of GTA 5 exclusive to returning players who previously played the game on the PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, neither of which criteria actually applies to me, and yet I was still able to do it. And so I can only assume it was either a timed thing or I'll be hearing from Rockstar's legal team very soon. Jokes aside, this is a genuinely interesting bit of storytelling that doesn't really do any hand-holding, forcing the player to, if they want answers, find them themselves. And what marks this side story as strange is there's no real initiation. You kind of have to know where to look and what you're looking for to piece it together. Furthermore, this can only be solved while playing as Michael DeSanta, who I've got dressed up in this mystery-solving attire that you will not see for the rest of this video because I guess consistency was an afterthought. But who cares? Join me as we immerse ourselves in this murder mystery. Or if you wish to use this video as a very outdated guide, be my guest. Now, like I said before, there's no real introduction to this mystery to spur you on. But for the sake of being able to go through the entire thing in one, you want to have at least completed the main storyline mission, Meltdown, which is towards the back end of the game, so perhaps complete the storyline before conducting any investigations. And with that said, what we're looking for are 4 messages hidden throughout Los Santos, the first of which can be found here at the Gentry Manor Hotel, easily identified by the massive golden sign telling you that is where you are. From the road, if you head up the stairs into the complex, if you pay attention to the first building to your left, you may find some writing on the wall. It reads, "Old Fred acts nice, but it ain't so." If, while facing the message, you get close enough, the game should autosave, indicating that you've accomplished something. Now, as of right now, what this message means, or what it even pertains to, is entirely unclear. Therefore, we need to move on to the second message. Fortunately, it's only located down the road at the Oriental Theatre. A quick stroll down the Vinewood Walk of Fame never hurt anybody, and it's here where we will find clue number 2. In the far left corner, the second message will be, yet again, on the wall. And it reads, "Ain't no mystery, they drowned her because of what she knew." So firstly, we know a bloke named Fred isn't very nice, even though he may seem so. And some woman's been drowned, because she knew something. But what? And of course, who was she? We are likely better served finding the next 2 messages before we begin rampant speculation. Message number 3 can be located here at the City Hall, a few blocks to the south of the Oriental Theatre we were just at. The building stands apart due to its rather phallic shape, and towards the ground floor's southwest corner, message number 3 will reveal itself. It reads, "Fred makes cartoons for kids. Funny thing considering what he did." We've already learned that this Fred is quite possibly a murderer, but what we've also discovered now is that he makes cartoons for children. And considering this is Los Santos, that might mean he's involved in the Vinewood circles, so to speak, a notion reinforced by where we're finding these messages. Anyway, let's move on to message number 4. And to find this one, we'll need to head to the Galileo Observatory, up in the Vinewood Hills. It's here where, on a wall on the south side of the building, we'll find it yet again marked on the wall. This time it simply reads, "David Richards knows." David Richards is of course a famous Vinewood film producer in the Grand Theft Auto universe who founded Richards Majestic Productions, and considering the success of that production company, that makes him one hell of a powerful man. Although by the events of GTA 5 he's believed to be deceased. A named suspect according to the website Who Killed Leonora Johnson, David Richards is described as a man known for his kind-heartedness and generosity. However, on this website it's claimed he knew about a confession letter regarding that case, something that you as the player can prove. A letter that implies David Richards had his very own skeletons in the closet. So it's not difficult to believe that he knows about a lot of dirty laundry in Vinewood's high society. And so, with the messages in an order that makes the most sense to my brain, we have old Fred acts nice but it ain't so. Fred makes cartoons for kids. Funny thing considering what he did. Ain't no mystery, they drowned her because of what she knew. David Richards knows. And that leaves us with two questions. Who is this she? And what did she know that cost her her life? Fortunately, carrying on the investigation is rather simple, as if we head to this spot in the ocean, just to the west of the map, where by the wreckage of a ship we can find nuclear waste and a submarine piece, a grisly discovery awaits. The drowned remains of a woman on the seabed. Her wrists are tied, she has a bag on her head, and her feet appear to be stuck in a cement block. The conclusion is, this wasn't an accident. She didn't fall off a yacht and wind up this way by some circumstance, but rather she was murdered. The identity of the victim is unclear, but the takeaway is there may be some truth to the claims that this old Fred, though he may act nice, is, or perhaps was, a sketchy dude. And I say that as the victim's attire appears to represent a bygone age, which is odd because her body doesn't appear to have decomposed much. The burning question is, why did this woman have to die? And fortunately, there is a way we can seek the answers. Though the game won't provide any indication that this is the case, only once all of the prior steps have been completed and you pass the main storyline mission Meltdown here at the Richards Majestic Studio Complex, we will now have gained the ability to access the office of Solomon Richards, as made clear by an unmarked yellow mission marker. All we need to do is approach it and it will take us straight to the office. Once inside there's plenty to be staring at, but on Solomon Richards' desk there is a document that by some miracle just so happens to be relevant to our investigation. We'll be given the prompt to read it, and here's what it says. Vinewood, August 14th, 1949. Dear David, I think by now you know that I made some mistakes. I mean, we all have. We are flawed men, and me, who has focused so much on perfection, perhaps the most flawed of all. I know you know the whole story, or enough of it, and I am sure you must be sick to your stomach with me, but let me ask you, what choice did I have? To have some strumpet, good-for-nothing $3 whore behind a typewriter threaten me and my legacy? It was the best choice I could have made. It was the only choice I could have made. And I know it was an ugly choice, but that is the problem with sin. Sin begets sin, and my sins have multiplied. I know you know the business about Isaac. Well, that was a couple years ago, and things were just getting back to normal. Nobody knew about it, just you, me, my lawyers, Abe Schwartzman over at Brown Canyon, nobody who didn't have their own, perhaps more allegorical skeletons in the closet. Isaac betrayed me in the worst way possible. Not that business with Maureen. The honest truth is that when I met her, she was turning tricks to buy hot dogs, so what could I expect? No. Isaac betrayed me in the worst way possible. He did not give his all on the Bip the Dog movie. I warned him, but I knew he was already flirting with Abe about a live-action gig at BC. He even shot a short for him, on my film stock. I'd been drinking and we got into it. We've all done it. I buried him in the mine up in the hills, then called Abe and offered him a deal to forget about Isaac. Abe's made a few mistakes himself, including that nasty business with a busboy, so he shut up as far as I know. I hope you understand how much I value our friendship, and trust nothing would ever encourage you to gossip inappropriately about me. Let me be quite frank for a second. Were you to do that, well, clearly, I am quite prepared to make difficult decisions, and I'd make them again. But just to solidify what has always been a very important relationship to me, I wanted to help you out of a spot of bother. Freds will buy a 5% stake in Richard's Majestic for $450,000. We both know this is significantly over market rate, and we both know that this ties us together, as the brothers we truly are. You're a talented man who needs to get back to doing what he does best. Less of this artistic nonsense, action, and plenty of it. When people think Richard's Majestic, they think broads, hoods, and Tommy guns, so give them what they want. We make dreams come true. It's an incredible responsibility. Your friend, Fred Quincy. We have a confession letter. Fred Quincy killed the lady we found at the bottom of the ocean, and his reasoning was she was about to expose him for killing a geezer named Isaac who he'd killed 2 years prior and buried up in a mine after he underperformed in one of Fred Quincy's many cartoons for children. Something Quincy clearly took very personally indeed. I do find it very funny this letter just happens to be out on Solomon Richards' desk. Did he know Michael was investigating this and that his investigations would lead him here? I mean, I think it's clear somebody who wasn't one of the victims left the messages throughout town for Michael to find. And considering his fame, I doubt Solomon Richards would be inconspicuous enough to graffiti several locations throughout Los Santos, but that doesn't mean he couldn't have someone else he trusted do it. But that quick on-the-fly theory doesn't quite explain why he would bother. Perhaps more importantly, there's one final chapter to this story that we need to wrap up, and that is discovering the remains of this Isaac, supposedly buried in a mine. And if we head to this location on the map, we will find a snaky dirt track between one road and another, along which we can indeed find what appears to be a boarded up entrance to a mine. And utilising the most subtle of means, we can gain admission to the mine itself. The dark, abandoned shaft is quite creepy, and though you can see, you may wish to, for effect, equip a weapon with a flashlight attachment. After a short mooch along the tunnel, we'll come across something laying on the tracks. The decomposing remains of a bloke in a suit who appears to have been down here for some time, and this must be Isaac. Locating his remains unlocks vintage filters, but we'll get to that in a minute. Next to his body we can find a film of some description, with a label that simply reads Richard's Majestic. As we now know, Isaac here was murdered by Fred Quincy, the founder of a film studio that wanted Isaac to produce a cartoon called Bip the Dog, but Isaac wanted to try his hand at live-action filmmaking with another studio altogether, and Quincy killed him for it, and then denied him a burial by leaving his remains to rot in a mine shaft. Finding Isaac's body after completing the murder mystery unlocks him as a contact on our phones, complete with a pagged profile picture. There's no getting around that. And in giving him a bell, he won't answer the phone, but it will cycle the vintage filters that we just unlocked, of which there are 2. And this contact will be available to both Franklin and Trevor as well, allowing us to view Los Santos without colour. And if you think that feature isn't getting rinsed in potential future videos, I don't know what to say. It's unclear who left behind the clues that allowed us to discover this information, but all I can say is it wasn't Fred Quincy himself, and it couldn't have been either of his victims, as they were left behind after both had died. But with the letter left out on Solomon Richards' desk for Michael to find, I can only be left to believe that wasn't entirely unintentional, as though it is a game and convenience is part of what makes games work. That one was a bit too convenient. As for Fred Quincy's production company, Fred's Pictures, it still exists during the events of Grand Theft Auto 5 and appears to be a parody of the Walt Disney Company. As for the whereabouts of Fred Quincy himself though, we're led to believe chances are he's long deceased, considering he was likely not a young man in the 1940s when he committed these murders. Well over half a century is a long time, so sadly it would appear as if there's no justice to exact. But that brings us quite nicely to the conclusion of today's video. Thank you all for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this one. I know it's a bit shorter than the content I usually make, but I prefer my content to be as long as the information being presented takes it. rather than aim for a specific runtime. If you did like this content, be sure to go ahead, leave a like, maybe subscribe, share the channel with your friends, all that wonderful stuff. And that's only if you want to, of course. I can't force you at gunpoint. And if you'd like to see more content like this, I'm always open to suggestions. With any luck, I'll be seeing you all very soon with another video at some point, but until next time, please take care and goodbye.